The unexplained has always fascinated the human mind because it is something that seems to have no real answer. The struggle it creates in our minds, trying to find a solution to each mystery, is what draws us every time we hear about another unexplained phenomena or unsolved murder. In this episode of Unsolved Mysteries, we will show you 3 different from each other unexplained cases. A tale of an unexplained creature in the town of Blandenborough starts a series of gruesome animal killings that remain unsolved to this day. The strange case of a sleeping illness causing people to suddenly fall asleep. Now scientists appear to have discovered the cause. And the tragic case of a 23-year-old engineering student from Uruguay who suddenly goes missing after supposedly visiting a friend and never coming back. This time we will leave the mystery solving to you, so sit back and enjoy the video. In the winter of 1953, the town of Blandenborough, North Carolina, was terrorized by a creature called the Blandenborough Beast. It is usually described as dog or cat-like creature, but incredibly vicious and overly large. One consistent element is what the beast does with the blood of its victims. Although no humans are believed to have been killed, the creature did kill several dogs, goats and other small animals. It all began at the night of December 29, 1953, when a local woman heard and then saw a large cat-like creature stalking off into the night. This is believed to be the first sighting, although no harm was done. On New Year's Eve, Police Chief Roy Force was called out to Woody Storm's farm, where 2 of his dogs had been killed viciously by something powerful and large. What's really strange though is the fact that both of his killed dogs had been completely drained of their blood, and that's the main reason why he decided to call the cops. It wouldn't be long before the station was flooded with calls from all over Blandenborough claiming their dogs had gone missing or been viciously attacked. Soon enough, Chief Force had his own sighting. While at his service station, he watched a dog in front of his own eyes get attacked by a large creature and then dragged into the woods. Then on January 5th, the Beast of Blandenborough attacked a human. That evening, Mrs. Kinslow heard the sound of whimpering dogs outside of her house. She went outside to investigate and she saw a large cat-like creature rushing towards her. Mrs. Kinslow screamed and her husband rushed outside. The beast was frightened off and fled back into the woods. Night time was the most feared time around. As the sun set, the entire community on the west side of the town went indoors and didn't come out unless necessary. As the reports continued to mount, Chief Force decided to call in a team of professional hunters to track the animal. Newspapers picked up the story and soon Blandenborough was overwhelmed with hundreds of hunters coming in, eager to kill the beast. Deciding that things were getting too dangerous, Blandenborough Mayor Bob Fussell and Chief Force called an end to the hunt. On January 13th, a large bobcat had been trapped by local farmers. 2 men hung the so-called beast in the center of the town. They posted a sign underneath stating, "This is the Beast of Blandenborough." However, this doesn't quite explain the lack of blood in the bodies of the dead dogs. After a week or so, things settled back to normal. The hunters left the town and the reports of killings stopped coming in. Whatever the Beast of Blandenborough was, it had vanished back into the night. Attacks have continued to be reported on and off throughout the decades, and even on some occasional sightings. Today, most people are satisfied with the cheese answer to the mystery, but some are still skeptical if the beast was ever caught. There was certainly something that killed these dogs in the woods of Bladen County, but what exactly that something was remains unsolved. Imagine a disease so perfectly hidden in our everyday lives, yet so dangerous that nobody can even notice it until it is too late. That is the story of two small villages, Kalachi and Krasnogorsk, located in Kazakhstan, where over 200 locals suffered from a mysterious sleeping illness in 2013. People would suddenly fall asleep unintentionally even while walking. Most of them would sleep continuously for up to 6 days. A panic grew in the small community as most of the victims suffered from dizziness, memory loss, and headaches after waking up. Young and old people were affected by the unexplained illness, with many of the cases being children falling asleep at school. One fairly common symptom were hallucinations and nightmares, as many complained about seeing winged horses, snakes in their beds, and worms eating their hands. Most of the people were professionally tested in order the cause to be found, but the disease defied all explanation. Initially, many doctors believed that the consumption of fake or cheap alcohol was the reason behind what was happening. But as the situation got worse, doctors began diagnosing many of the patients with brain illness. Many locals suspected and warned the media about the nearby uranium mines that were closed after the fall of the Soviet Union to be the origin of the sleeping illness. Kazakhstan's health ministry tested many nearby homes, but significantly high levels of radiation or of heavy metals weren't found. Many sleep disorder experts tried but failed to explain what was happening in the two towns, as they could not find the cause as well. Now, almost a decade later, the mystery has been solved and the cause does indeed lie in the uranium mines. After scientists analyzed the results of medical examinations of all the residents, it was concluded that it was caused by high levels of carbon monoxide and hydrocarbons in the air. The uranium mines were closed at some point, but the concentration of carbon monoxide can still occur at times as it reduces the oxygen in the air, proving to be the real reason behind the sleeping illness. The scientists' conclusion was that high levels of carbon monoxide can bind to the blood more efficiently than oxygen, causing the brain to shut down and make people fall asleep. Villagers had taken things into their own hands and left on their own accord. Others were evacuated in 2013. Unfortunately, many people have lost their homes and peaceful lives due to government's past mistake not securing and sealing the mines as needed. Luckily, no deaths have been reported during that time. Many people left their homes and belongings without ever to return again. The mysterious disappearance of Ignacio Susaeta from Montevideo shocked all of Uruguay as he disappeared without a trace. Known for his nice and quiet personality, the student always enjoyed his tight circle of friends and family. After a family gathering for his father's birthday on 23rd of January, around 8 p.m., Ignacio had to leave for a moment. As he excused himself from the party, he ran into his dad on the way out, explaining that he had to leave a notebook to a friend and take his girlfriend on the way back with him. Hours went by and Ignacio still wasn't home. Worried about his well-being, Ignacio's brother called to check up on him. Ignacio promised he'll be home soon. This would be the last time someone from his family spoke to him. As time passed, they tried calling him again, but to no avail, as his phone was turned off. When the family spoke to Ignacio's girlfriend, she explained that Ignacio never came to pick her up. Surprisingly, even his friend wasn't aware that Ignacio was planning on visiting him to leave the notebook. Later, the parents reported the disappearance to the police, and after a few days, his car, a black Chevrolet Spark, was found about 14 miles from his house. Inside, they found some of his belongings and an envelope with letters that were said to be delivered to Ignacio's address. The envelope contained 3 letters, not directed to anyone in specific. According to his parents, the letters didn't make any sense. Paragraphs weren't connected with each other and the handwriting was very messy, something uncharacteristic of him since he had a very neat handwriting. The letters were never released to the public. The family believed that the letter cannot help in any way if being released, and they would like to keep it private. In other interviews about the case, the family explained that he mostly wrote about personal stuff in those letters, while also mentioning being depressed at times, but later brushing it off by saying it's nothing to worry about. Apart from the car, the belongings and the letter, no other evidence was found. The police continued the investigation, and his parents even set up a website and a Facebook page in case someone has any information that they would like to share in help of finding Ignacio. The case had gone cold with no leads for 2 years until 2017, when Ignacio's parents received a photo on Facebook of a young man that was asking for food on the streets of Salto. In the background of the photo was a person who resembled Ignacio, as the Susaeta family explained that the specific way he was sitting in the photo was his sitting pose. They traveled to Salto, but once they got to the city, they were unable to locate Ignacio. 2 weeks later, they received a call again. The police arrived at the scene and contacted the family to let them know that the person they found wasn't Ignacio. Another sighting was reported in Artigas, where a woman claimed that she saw him in a hospital before she knew he was missing. Although there are records at the hospital, the lack of surveillance cameras cannot prove the claim. Throughout the years, many people have kept contacting the family with mostly false or misleading information. Unfortunately, Ignacio is still missing to this day. This has been a very high-profile case in Uruguay because the lack of unsolved disappearances in the country. As of today, there aren't any new leads and the case remains open. We might never know what really happened in Blandenborough, as the so-called beast became a myth that is now synonymous with the town. But we got the much-needed closure as to why so many people randomly suffered from a mysterious illness and lost their homes in Kazakhstan. As for Ignacio, we hope that if someone has any information about him, he can share it with us or contact the Montevideo Police Department. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to our channel for more unsolved mysteries. Thank you for watching, and until the next time.